Welcome back, my friends. This is Johnny B from JohnnyB.com. So you're about to make an offer in a home. It's got termites. What do you do? First, let me tell you, you're not alone. This is great weather in California. Termites love it here. We've got the beach, we've got the desert, but we've got great soil here and they love it. There's two main kinds of termites in California. Now, I'm not an expert in termites, but I've seen a lot of reports. There's drywood termites and there's subterranean termites. Drywood termites live entirely inside the wood. They don't live in the soil. They typically enter in through some unpainted access into the home. It could be the rafter tails. So the rafter tail is a 2x4 that supports the roof. And you can see them, they come out by the gutter. And because it's downhill, the water's flowing downhill and the part at the bottom is going to stay wet longer. So that causes the paint to wear out more there. Any painted surface is going to deteriorate over time, faster if it's damp. Once it deteriorates, it's easier for termites to fly up into the rafter and burrow in and start their nest. They swarm once or twice a year, so they're going to fly and come in through the attic, they're going to get in through the crawl space, and they're going to find a way in eventually. So you have drywood termites. What do you do about it? The way to get rid of them is to fumigate. That means you put a big tent over the house. You don't do it, but fumigation company does. They charge depending on the size of the house. It's usually $1,800 to $3,000. If it's a huge house, it could be more. They fill it with gas. They take one day to set it all up, one day to put the gas in, one day to clear it. You do not want to go anywhere near it until there's an all clear sign posted on the property. You want to notify the neighbors because pets could wander in and it's not a great way to meet a neighbor. What doesn't help with drywood termites is putting a chemical barrier on the soil. It has nothing to do with that. Now, subterranean termites, that's another matter. They live 4 to 18 inches into the ground, and they make these huge nests that go out for hundreds of feet, over 300 feet in some cases, and they are looking for food. One of the places that they often find food is underneath a home. There's usually sawdust from when it was built, and sometimes scraps of lumber that's just been tossed down there. This is cellulose debris, and this is munchable. They look for a place to expand their colony with comfort, which means a ready food supply, and then they begin to look for more food, and your house is right there. So they're going to then take a mud tube highway, which they build, up the side of your foundation until they get into the wood. That's how you spot them. Sometimes you can see them in the debris, and other times you see the mud tubes. The way you kill them is you do not put a tent up. It doesn't help. It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't help. You need to put a chemical barrier so that they stay down in the soil. You can't get rid of them. That 300-foot nest is beyond your property. There's going to be subterranean termites there long after we're all gone. The way they find them is they look for frass, and that's basically the feces of the termite. And the way they do it is they poke a hole. They're digging through the wood, and they need to get rid of this mess. So they poke a hole out, and they push all of the frass through the hole, and it falls into a nice little pile. It's easy to spot frass, but for the untrained eye, you can easily overlook it. It looks like a little pile of sand, which is peculiar because it's all piled up, because it's falling out of the hole and bouncing in the same spot, and so it makes a little hill. So the pest inspector is going to go under the house looking for the mud tubes. They're going to be looking for the frass. They often find it around the corners, like the interior of the garage, around the edges, or in a windowsill, or wherever there's a door frame, down at the edges of the doors. It's quite often there. If they're not sure if it's active, they'll pop on it and more frass will fall out on a piece of paper. And when they're cleaning it up, they'll want to clean up all that frass so that if there's an added infestation, they can tell by the new piles of frass. They'll also look for the mud tubes, and they'll knock those down so that if there's an additional incursion, they'll see new mud tubes. There's a third type of pest that they look for, and that's dry rot. So we talk about these rafter tails, how they stay wet and how the paint decays on the edge, especially at the bottom corner. Well, that causes a situation where water can come in direct contact with the wood and that allows the dry rot fungus to begin to grow. Once it starts, it will continue to grow without the water. So you could paint over it and make it look gorgeous, but it's going to continue to munch away at the house and keep on going. The only way to deal with it is to cut it out, all the affected area, and then Bondo in a replacement, and then prime it so that there's no more water coming in contact with it, and then you're good. And they just go around and do that all around the house. So how do you mitigate these problems? For the dry rot, what you want to do is keep everything well primed and painted, or varnished, and make sure that water doesn't come in contact with wood. Water is not your friend in a house. You don't want it rolling towards the foundation. You don't want it coming into the wood through the rafter tails, seeping inside the house through the roof, leakage in the kitchen, underneath the sink traps, leaky toilets. All these things can cause damage, and the pest inspector is looking for this for you. He will call it out in the pest inspection report. There are 3 sections he's going to look for. One is active infestation. That's section 1. So if there's active dry rot, if there's active termites, that's going to go in section 1. And he's usually going to give you a work authorization form which will itemize how much it costs for each repair. Now, the thing to be careful of is some of the things are labeled will bid or trades. That means they didn't give you a price. So that's in addition to the prices that they gave you. If they fumigate, if they need fumigation or chemical barrier, that's going to be listed as well. Section 2 means conditions that would lead to a section 1 if they're not addressed. So if you have a recent leak, drippy sink trap, or a shower that just started leaking, there's no real damage yet, there's no fungus, they will then be able to just recommend that you plug the leak so that you don't create a section 1 issue. But if you don't fix it, it's going to cause a section 1 issue, and you're still going to need to fix it. Besides keeping wood from coming in direct contact with moisture, there's another place where people don't usually notice. If you have wood coming down the side of your home and it goes directly into the soil, that is a place where dry rot can occur. If you have a patio cover and it's got some support posts holding it up and they come in direct contact with the dirt or the cement, that's a place where dry rot can occur. It should be sitting on a platform, a metal platform. Okay, for termites, there's a couple of things you can do to help mitigate the risk. One is clean up all the cellulose debris in the crawl space. If they don't have the easy access to party and multiply, it's going to be harder for them to come into your home. Second, don't put food in the ground. So that's any cellulose debris, any cellulose material like newspapers, cardboard, anything like this. People stack this in their garage quite often. This can become a nest of food, all-you-can-eat buffet for the termites. Another thing is firewood. Sometimes that firewood is bringing in the source of termites, but more often than not, it just brings in food. A couple things about the exterior of your home. If there is vegetation touching the home, that is a pathway for insects to migrate into your house. You want to make it harder for them to get in. Another thing to look for is tree branches. And tree branches can do more than provide an access for insects. It can also literally be like taking a huge beam and rubbing it on your home on the roof every time the wind blows, which is all the time. So that's just going to destroy your roof. So you want to keep that trimmed back, and it'll also eliminate some of the leaves falling into your gutters. So the last thing that I suggest is have a pest inspection every 2 years. A lot of people say every year. Talking to pest inspection companies, you can have a colony growing for 18 months before there's any evidence that an inspector can see. So it makes sense to me that you have it done frequently so that you can nip in the bud any sort of an infestation and minimize any cost. A lot of people don't pay any concern about it for decades, but then when they go to sell their home, there's quite a bit of repair. How much? I would say the typical home, typical size home in this area, it's about $7,500 to $15,000 of pest damage. Tenting, you can ask the pest inspection company. You ask them about the averages too. They'll know better the averages than me. But I would say somewhere around 25-30% of the homes need fumigated. And it's a great way to stop it. Next time, what if something breaks right after you buy the home and you just are sure the seller knew that oven was going to go? How can you preempt that problem?
Hi, this is Brent Gove, host of the Real Estate Report on Northern California's #1 talk radio station, KFBK 1530 AM and 92.5. It's my pleasure today to have on the show JohnnyB, that's Johnny Bretthauer from the Bay Area. If you don't know this, Johnny's an absolute expert down in the Bay Area, so I've asked him to come on the show today. He's going to give a market update for what's happening in the Bay Area. Of course, the market's going nuts. We all know that. But he's going to give us some great statistics and some great tips. I'll be doing the Sacramento market. We also have agents calling in from Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, and New York. So we're going to give you a good feel for what's happening across the country. But again, JohnnyB, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Brent.
All right. Now, a lot of you may know this. Some of you don't. JohnnyB just published his first book on real estate. JohnnyB, why don't you tell them what the name of that book is?
The Ultimate Homebuyer's Guide.
Are you excited about it?
I'm pumped.
All right, awesome. Now, how do people actually get their hands on it if they're home watching this video? How do they get it?
The best way to go is to go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble.
Great. There you go. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, The Ultimate Home Buyer's Guide by Johnny Bretthauer, Michael Reese, and Jay Kender, some of the top experts nationwide. It's going to be great. We look forward to meeting you someday. Bye for now.